Broadcasting live to Bills Mafia worldwide with Greg Tompsett and Aaron Quinn.
Welcome to the NFL.
Doesn't matter what's happened before today. Today's a brand new day. It's a brand new season.
Your number one podcast for objective Buffalo Bills coverage. No matter where you are, we got you covered.
Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You are joining your host, Greg Tompsett, along with my happy birthday partner in crime, Aaron Quinn, and along with us, Anthony Prohaska. You are joining us because the Buffalo Bills have just dominated the New England Patriots 47-17. Aaron has beat me to it. I'm going to crack my Uncle Jumbo's, Anthony.
Wait.
Cracking it.
That effervescence just billowing off of the top of this. When it's a victory, Uncle Jumbo's is the best tasting Uncle Jumbo's you've ever had.
No. I think this one tastes a little like a dominance Uncle Jumbo's. I think a little different taste today.
Bombsicle is the only way to go after a game like this, right? Like, that epitomizes Josh Allen. Yeah.
So thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you to our sponsors, Uncle Jumbo, and shout out to our friends at bookseats.com with maybe the marketing
going to be
decision
busy
of the century.
Yeah.
Make sure to check them out because now the Buffalo Bills get to watch tomorrow night. We're going to have you set up either way. If the Pittsburgh Steelers upset the Kansas City Chiefs, you will be able to book seats at New Era at Highmark Stadium to be able to watch the Bills versus the Steelers. If the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Steelers, you're going to get to book seats to go to Kansas City. They can get you a hotel, they can get you flights, they can get you tickets, they can get you into the stadium and everything that you need to be there to help Bills Mafia take over Arrowhead. Check out our friends at bookseats.com. Marketing decision of the century to partner with the Cover One and to get ready for this run here with the Buffalo
always,
Bills.
but more so.
Oh, yes, even more so with this perfect timing. Check out bookseats.com. It's going to be where you need to go. But now back to us.
And there's a lot of super chats.
Good news is it looks like
a lot.
Next week will not be 1 degree.
Yeah.
So if you are coming into Buffalo, it's not going to be a 1 degree game, I don't think.
All right, guys. You guys are awesome.
I know. Thank you guys so much.
We're going to do our darndest to pull
We're not going to interrupt all night tonight.
Way too much fun tonight.
We appreciate
thank you. We will put them up throughout the show. Yes. Every single super chat will be on the screen. But we got too much to talk about tonight. We're going to go through all the goodness. We're going to talk about maybe the greatest playoff performance in NFL history from Josh Allen statistically. We're going to talk about the fact that when the Bills were up 30 and had a chance to salt away the game, Sean McDermott said, no, let's go ahead and do a play-action deep shot and then a fat man touchdown to Tommy Doyle to go up 47-10. There's a lot to talk about tonight. So
he Belichick.
He Belichick. That's fantastic.
He did.
So buckle in. We're going to be here for a minute. Our first one, thank you to Matthew. I'm going to start bringing these up. Aaron, let us know how it felt to watch this on your birthday.
Dude, this is the greatest birthday in the history of birthdays today. So the Bills have only played on my birthday one other time. It was 1994, the Raiders divisional round game. Also equally as cold as it was today, oddly enough. Don't really remember that game. I was 10 years old. I was probably playing outside during half the game, pretending I was Bills players. Rewatched it today. Super cool. This, way cooler. I think everyone knows that watches the show. I was born and raised in New England, lived in New England my whole life. Every one of my personal friends, mostly are New England Patriots fans. All my family, like my wife's side of the family, they're all Patriots fans. There's so much on the line when I saw that we were playing the Patriots that if this didn't go this kind of way, that it was going to be just torture for me. That a team I know that should win this game either plays in a close one or loses. It could just be so terrible. And then for it to go totally in the most dominant victory I've seen in my adult life in the playoffs, on my birthday, Levi Wallace getting in on the action, getting a touchdown for me. Dawson Knox, a guy that I've been pounding the table for, my spotlight player of the game here this past week. having biggest day of all the
Micah
pass
Hyde
catchers.
almost accidentally took a punt back for a touchdown.
Micah Hyde, maybe the best interception I've ever seen in my entire life. Like this game had so many moments. Like Tyler Bass is probably the only negative thing we'll have to talk about this game. But when we go through these positions by positions, it's going to be popping bottles of champagne and talking about how great everything is. This is the greatest thing to ever happen to me in my 38 years of birthdays. Number one right here. So thank you for everyone. Also, I want to shout out Twitter was super cool to me today. Tons of great messages. Everybody wishing me a happy birthday. Appreciate all you guys. Greg, you had a super nice message for me. I love all you guys, man. My heart is full of Bills Mafia love today. I appreciate everybody.
Whew. Anthony, how did it feel?
I'm about to quit my job with all these super chats we got.
I know, man.
This is fantastic. Holy hell. It feels good. I mean, I know not shaving my face again this week. Got to keep tracking that.
Not ever.
Did a lot of superstitious stuff today, so now I got to figure out which thing worked and was responsible for victory, obviously. Yeah. But this the win in and of itself was going to feel good, right? We knew that, but it was the type of win, dominance from first snap to end, and when the Patriots had a little life with their first drive when it was 7-0, and then Micah Hyde snuffed it out with a tremendously rangy pick, tremendous ball skills, and from then on, it was a beatdown, and it was fantastic, and there were just so many good moments. To have any win like that feels good, let alone for it to come against your rival, a team that you hate with such an obnoxious fan base. And I was telling Aaron off air, I know he's not watching, to the guy at Target, to the Patriots fan in Target today in the Cam Newton jersey and the Patriots Scully, who told me the Patriots were going to beat the Bills today because, quote, they're a better team. Devin Singletary is ass and Damian Harris is 1,000 times better. And then who yelled at the mom of a 6-year-old because she was a Bills fan. Kick rocks, my man. I wish you watched this show. If you're at Target next Saturday, meet me in the dollar aisle and we'll fight. I'm so happy right now. This feels great.
Real quick on that Micah Hyde, you brought that interception. That took a minute for you, right? Like I thought that was a touchdown, 100%. Even when he made the play, like I was like, that, and I was like, oh my god, he got that. Like,
I thought he knocked it away initially. I was like, oh my God, thank God he got there in time to knock it away. Because, I mean, he literally was out of the screen and you just saw him like Nelson Aguilar settling under that
glove,
ball.
center field play.
Yes, center field like golden glove. I can't wait to get the all-22 sideline angle from that so I can see they showed it a little at the end when Charles Davis was doing the tracking. I want to see just how rangy that was. They were I believe they were in man coverage, cover one, single high safety, and Micah Hyde just straight center field yoked that for the
like legit, like Jr. chasing down a ball.
Yep, exactly. So gold glove center field play is spot on here. Like that, just and then it was over.
Serious, Matt. Take care of yourself.
Greg, how about you? How the hell are you feeling, my man?
You had quite the day today.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I met.
Yeah, you were drunk at like 4.
Aaron was upset
that our friend Rich that helps us on the fantasy show. I went with him to the Bills Backers bar out in Lakewood in the Cleveland area. It's called Around the Corner. Had a blast there. Met Mike and the guys who run the Cleveland Bills Backers. Had a blast. They were awesome hosts. Rich stayed there and posted a whole bunch of videos. So go check his Twitter timeline. But I timed it. I told him, I'm like, listen, guys, I'm going to hang out. I'm going to have a great time. I want to visit with everybody, but I'm leaving in time to be home for kickoff. There's no messing around here. And I had it they laughed at me. I checked my phone like every 30 seconds from like 7 o'clock until 7:30. I'm like, oh, it's time. Bye, everybody. And I bounced and I walked out. I got home just in time. I settled in, got my computer, got myself a beverage, got ready to go, and then watched. And I kept, and anybody who follows my game day thread will see it. I kept repeating, stay calm, stay focused. It's not over yet. We've seen these guys come back. You can't give them a crack. And just over and over and over again, to every time they got the ball, they scored a touchdown. Every time. The first 7 drives. No team in NFL history had ever scored on the first 5 touchdowns on the first 5 drives of a playoff game. 5. The Bills did it 7 times. 7 touchdowns in 7 possessions.
Is that good?
It's unbelievably historic to go that far beyond anything that had ever happened again. So I know some of the super chats had asked, is this the most dominant game in playoff history? And I don't know. I think there was
that Bills Raiders
The Bills, well, and the 85 Bears game was in the Super Bowl. So to do it in the Super Bowl was relatively equal. But the fact that we're having to nitpick and debate.
Yeah, it's in that list.
It's on the list of
the
most dominant
49ers Chargers in that Super Bowl.
Yes,
and imagine how much more dominant it would be if we were in a dome.
Right? The dome
the
really
Domers took a big L tonight.
We might have scored 50 if we were in a dome. It's tough to know, guys. I don't know how much we have. I think we have a lot of Filipino.
I think that's 2.5
that
million. That's $1 million.
We might have got some Bitcoin.
No,
I don't know.
He watches he's in the film room all the time. I believe that's Filipino currency, and I don't remember the conversion. Yes,
Domers took an L tonight,
Oh,
and you know who else took an L? Is I'm gonna call it out. Guys like Matt Fairburn and other dudes that were posting Josh Allen's statistics in cold weather games. You guys woke up a beast. You put that. Josh Allen pays attention to all this.
He says
stuff.
he doesn't listen. He listens.
He's
to all
locked
of it.
in. He is locked in. And Nate Geary tried to warn you when you put baby in a corner, don't put baby in a corner.
Josh's baby.
Don't put baby in a corner because he came out and he unleashed on you. I want to see the statistics from all those guys that talk shit all week long about Josh not being able to play in the cold. I want to see it now. Let's do it and then put it up against Mac Jones in games under 32 degrees because this is going to be fun.
Well, here, let's talk about it a little bit. Josh Allen tonight went 21 of 25. He completed 84% of his passes for 308 yards, which equates to 12.3 yards per attempt for 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. He also added 6 carries for 66 yards.
Big boy runs.
He had 374 total yards and 5 touchdowns. That is unbelievable. He impacted the game on 31 plays. Those 31 plays, that means every time Josh Allen either ran the ball or passed the ball, he averaged over 12 yards per play. 12 yards per play on every play that Josh Allen was involved in. That is a historically dominant performance in the playoffs. And I obviously I said it in celebration, but I'm not kidding. The best quarterback on the planet plays in Buffalo, and his name is Joshua Patrick Allen.
Where did Anthony leave?
Anthony was so excited.
He couldn't handle it anymore.
He couldn't handle it. That was too much excitement. Too much excitement. I'm sure that he'll rejoin us and go through. But
too much for you.
Yeah. Right. It was just too much celebration. Chris, that's awesome.
Oh my gosh, Chris,
long time watcher.
I'm trying to cycle through the super chats at the top, and I swiped on my mouse and it backed me out.
Awesome Cover One Slack member.
Very much
always very,
appreciated,
very
man.
active with us. That's really generous, man. Thank you very, very much.
So is the gap between Josh Allen and Mac Jones thinner than we think?
Close. I'll have to go find the Boston, the Northeast Boston NBC poll where they were asking who you would rather have going forward, Josh Allen or Mac Jones. I'll have to check on the votes.
Our show's real. For people that are first-time listeners, more times than not, we're real analytical. This is going to be the pettiest show in the history of Cover One Buffalo. I'm sorry. I'm feeling real petty tonight.
Oh, yeah. So, with the passing performance and those numbers, obviously, we're talking about, the kind of thing that we were very cautious during the year, and I talked about repeatedly, let's have all options are on the table. Everything is possible. One of the things where we kept talking about, hey, when they put up, in an alternate universe, this Bills team is, 15-2 and by far the number one most impressive team going in and everyone's Super Bowl favorite. It's because games like tonight were possible. It's because games like tonight were in the range of possible outcomes that they were able to put together this kind of performance. And Josh Allen going 21 of 25, only 4 incompletions. He completed 10 straight at one point, 84% for 308 yards and 5 touchdowns on, by many people's account, the number one defense in the league. It's unbelievable. I don't even know how else to describe it.
Well, this is something that I think we've talked about now year in and year out, Greg. When you're heading into the playoffs, something that matters big time is playing your best football heading into the playoffs. And the Bills have been doing that. We saw that with the ground game. We'll get to that in a little bit too. We'll talk about that. But when you're playing your best heading into the playoffs, you go in with a confidence. And the Patriots really, I was on a Twitter Spaces with our man Jay Spence from SB Nation, and one of the Pats guys that you've talked to from one of the SB Nations there was saying like, both of these teams, equally got into the playoffs. It's like the Patriots really limped into the playoffs. Yeah. Like they secured it, but they 1 and 3 really stumbled in, and that showed up in a big way today. This defense is not the defense that they were 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Like they were just physically dominated. We had Buffalo reporters talking about this Buffalo team is like a soft team. That couldn't be further from the truth. You don't dominate another team in the way that we saw today, both through the air and on the ground, in the ways that we saw if you're a soft football team. So this team playing right at the right time, getting Josh Allen going in this game. Now, when you were saying everything's on the table, we just blew the doors off of everything being on the table. Like it's everything and more is on the table.
Anthony, how would you we're going to talk about it during the week about, how do we recalibrate and get ready for anything moving forward? But I want to take a minute to really appreciate how crazy this is against a Bill Belichick defense. Say, you want about Mac Jones and the limitations they had of keeping up score for score. This was a very real defense that delivered significant blows to other really good teams and good quarterbacks and limited, they kept Justin Herbert in check the entire game. They controlled and were able to hang with so many other teams. How, with that in mind, that this wasn't putting it up against the Jets, this wasn't putting it up against the Falcons, what does that mean to you to see this kind of historic performance from Josh Allen?
It means so much more. We've talked about down the stretch, whether it was the defense, whether it was the run game, those are the two focal points. But we kept saying, kind of take it with a grain of salt. These aren't tremendous teams that it's happening against. Let's see if they can continue to get hot and ride this into the playoffs. And the fact that it happened in the playoffs against a coach that people hold and revere as arguably the greatest coach of all time. And it happened against the team. Yes, rightfully fair. He does a lot of great things and it was impossible to not have in the back of your mind going into this game to be like, okay, what is Belichick going to do today that's going to throw a wrench into everything that the Bills are doing? And instead, if he tried to throw a wrench, the Bills caught it and threw it back and hit him in the face with it. Like it was just unreal, especially like from an offensive perspective. This Patriots team, I know they limped in, 4th in DVOA, 9th against the run, 3rd against the pass, and they came in. Bills are the first team in the Super Bowl era to score 5 touchdowns in their first 5 possessions in a playoff game, but obviously that extended to 7 for 7. Josh Allen's day today is only the 10th game in postseason history for someone with 300 passing yards and 5 passing touchdowns. This came against a Bill Belichick defense. This came against a unit that played the Bills twice this year against a coach who has familiarity with Josh Allen in this offense, who coached against Josh Allen in this offense twice this year. And the Bills came out again from the get-go and boat raced them over from the first possession. They won on the ground. They won in the air. They won on play action. I see Ted's comment in the chat. I was sitting Indian style, holding a pen in my hand with my notebook, and I was leaning forward a little bit. Oh, 100%. When I stretched my legs at halftime, the feeling that I regained sensation from my knees down. It was rough.
I love this one from Chip talking about
what a donation.
Comparing it, that this win was better than the 51-3. And granted, that one sent him to the Super Bowl, first Super Bowl ever. A lot of history to that. It almost would have been akin to that 51-3 if it had been Marino and the Dolphins. Yeah, like if you added that element,
you need that rivalry
of
spice
who it was and who the opponent was. But I agree. It's
right before we went
with Belichick was
right before we went live. I said on Twitter, I tweeted out, I've waited 20 years for a game like this and a meaningful game to destroy and absolutely dismantle this team that has abused us for 20 years. People were like, hey, you guys, slow down on them. And it's like, no, give me more. I want to let out every inch of the drought and the beating that Belichick has put me through and all that, not to make light, like you said, of things like PTSD, but sports PTSD.
Yeah.
It's true. Like they have just
why people
derailed me year after year for 20 years of my adult life. It couldn't have been a bigger opportunity.
And even worse for you growing up in the New England area. Like you've got even way worse than we do.
That's what we talked about in this game going into it, was like, this could either be the highs of highs. And I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it to be
not like this,
totally boat racing
like
this
this
team out of the building like this. And so that's amazing. It really is going to go down in Bills history. Joe Marino might have to add this to his new book before he goes to publish. This is going to be big time Bills history. Yeah.
Clay, thank you. My grandfather's tie sits right there.
Yep.
A picture of my grandfather, and my grandfather's tie is right there, right now.
Awesome.
Right next
Pour
to
one
me,
out for
us,
the old man.
Looking out for us, watching over every single show.
Cheers to Greg. I would say cheers to
cheers.
Greg's grandpa.
Cheers, Gramps.
So looking at, obviously Josh Allen deserves all the attention. He was the superstar of this game, but a little bit of love for this run game and Devin Singletary.
Yes.
That man ran hard, looked good, constantly getting up chirping at the Patriots and letting them hear about it when he was knocking them forward. 16 carries for 81 yards, 5.1 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns. Also came in with 3 more catches for 13 yards, so almost 100 total yards. Unbelievable performance there. We'll talk about a little bit more on the receivers here. I had commented in my game day thread, this was the absolute perfect balance of Cole Beasley and Isaiah Mckenzie. Beasley was there as a threat. He had him 2 of them not got negated, so he only ended up technically with 1 catch for 19 yards on 1 target, but he actually had 3 because 2 others got negated. So it was the balance there. Mckenzie ended up having 3 carries for 29 yards. A couple of those were the orbit motion swing passes that just happened to be just barely back behind
to
him.
count as a run, right?
Plus more 3 more for 45 yards in the pass game. So the way that they mixed that in and balanced, Josh Allen and Devin Singletary together ended up all total 20. I won't count the kneel downs, 26 carries for 176 yards. You take those kneel downs out of it, you're talking about 6.7 yards per carry. Just an unbelievable performance. And that's without, there's no 60-yarder mixed in there. There's no 30-yarder.
Yeah, Devin had a long of 16.
Long of 16. Josh had the 126-yarder early. So there was no big crazy run balancing things out and giving him the credit there.
Balance is a great word to describe this tonight, Greg, because we're going to talk probably all week mostly about the big passes and those explosive plays that Josh Allen was able to make in the passing game, and rightfully so. Like those should get a ton of praise. But when we get to the drives of the game, and we should call it drives of the game tonight, is
my mom texts me, and she's listening right now. My mom texts me, she's like, "How are you guys going to pick a drive of the game?"
I'm going to tell you right now. We're going through them, but when we talk about the start of this game, when we watch back the start of this game here and pick through these drives, that first drive was 5 passes, 4 runs, tons of balance in that. The third touchdown drive was 7 rushes on a 9-play drive, and it was 7 rushes. It was a Devin Singletary pounding the rock, getting going, establishing that physicality that we talked about. And Greg, and Anthony, we talked about this going into the playoffs. Like getting that run game is super important. Like I think that's going to be, going forward here, the catalyst to open up everything, all the possibilities of this Bills offense is having Devin Singletary be a real legitimate threat, being able to convert for first downs and things like that.
He has to be taken seriously after watching tonight.
Oh yeah, no, Devin Singletary is the legitimate threat now for this offense. It opens up so much.
And you saw how legitimate threat he was on that throw.
I didn't realize Ryan Fitzpatrick was in the stands with his family. That's
a lot of people flew in for that. You saw people talking about flying in for this one.
It was a big game. It was a big moment, and to keep it on Singletary, that Gabriel Davis touchdown, the Bills running RPO, everybody sucked up because of what Devin Singletary was. And then Josh throws a dime and a laser, and we get the celebration after. But that was because of the threat of Devin Singletary.
I like that one.
That's fantastic from Craig. Well done. Craig says the Bills offense just bowled a 300 game. Well done.
It's true.
It is true.
Defense pretty much too, but
defense played well. And that's one of my only gripes. Like at the end, it shows like 17 on the scoreboard. I'm like, that wasn't really a real 17, but whatever. It doesn't matter. The way Singletary ran tonight was super impressive. I don't know where the burst that he showed tonight and the explosion in and out of cuts and the way he was setting up defenders and moving. even when we saw these pictures of how, like, jacked up he looked, jacked he looked coming out of, the offseason and coming into the preseason and all that, he didn't even look like that in the preseason. He hit another level. He went Super Saiyan 2 these last 5 weeks, and then going into this game, he had the one.
I'm too old to know what that means.
I don't know. Yeah, I missed it.
It's a Dragon Ball Z thing. It's cool,
I'm too old to know what that means.
His first. No, the touchdown run where he goes to the corner and hits the pylon, he sets up the safety and pops it out and turns the corner and coasts into the end zone. And then there's one in the third quarter.
Did he put up deuces on that one, or is it just a one?
I don't know. I didn't know if it was a wave or a 1 or a 2, but it would have. It's a goodie.
He might have been telling him they're number 1.
Yeah.
Oh, he could have been, or maybe I hope it was the middle finger. That'd be fantastic.
Oh, that'd be great.
But it wasn't. But if he's got a run in the third quarter, because the Bills are going left on the screen, where it's a toss and there's not really anything there. So he slow plays it. Then he cuts inside to get Hightower to commit. Then he pops back outside. The corner gets turned around. He pops back outside again and gets up the sideline. He was showing elusiveness and explosion in the open field that we have not seen from Devin Singletary this year, even from like
patience.
Yes, and patience. Like just and that ties into the O-line, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and the scheme they used and how they executed. But Devin Singletary looks like a true RB1 at this point. He looks versatile. He's able to win with power and contact. He's showing balance. He's able to win with quickness and elusiveness. He took his game to another level. It's been phenomenal. And Aaron, like you mentioned, we talked about it. The Bills, they need a pivot. You cannot just go. And I saw a lot of people saying like,
fastball. The fastball is great. It can't be all fastball.
Yes. People in the comments, were saying now, and I get it, like, Dable saved his fastball for the playoffs. And that's true. But you need a changeup, or you need to be able to throw a slider. You need to be able to throw something off speed at some point. Or even if you throw your fastball, you still got to be able to locate it in different spots, right? The Bills are locating their fastball all over the plate, and they're throwing multiple off-speed pitches because of the pivot that they have in the Bills' run game. And the O-line deserves a lot of credit, as does Devin Singletary, who is just, again, taking his play to another level. And you're seeing it. How many times he gets tackled? He falls forward. We're not seeing him get driven back. He's getting tough yards. He's been great.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Not to take anything away, it's kind of crazy that this is maybe one of the quieter Stephon Diggs games that we've had. And it was, historically crazy. 4 targets, 3 catches for 60 yards. Josh got him on the one, killer deep shot. And then he's yelling after when I told you.
He pointed right to himself like it does his little thing.
I think it showed the gravity tonight. And you heard a couple reporters beforehand that they said that the Patriots were planning to double team Stephon Diggs. And I assume, the fact that Stephon Diggs had 4 targets means they probably were. That, we'll see it when we go back and rewatch, which I'm going to rewatch this game so many times. My grandma wished you a happy birthday.
She likes Grandma.
Us. And by the way, I'm going to mention, I haven't seen him in the chat yet, but there's a ton of them here, so I apologize if I missed. Richard Conley, who's always a great listener of here, created a Cover One post-game show bingo board. And it's hysterical. Of all the, like, Uncle Jumbo's.
Oh, I didn't see
toxic differential.
Toxic differential. Me saying generous donation. Yeah. And my grandma was one of the bingo spots. So I wanted to make sure that he checked that up, the bingo board. So,
1,000%. That's got to be in
1,000%. 1,000% made it?
It was fantastic, man. It was really good.
Real quick, look at Patton put this awesome comment here. From Aaron Schatz of Football Outsiders. If you include looking at penalties that aren't in DVOA, I think it's pretty clear the Bills had the best offensive performance of all time tonight.
All time. Yeah, for sure.
Look at that.
And to hear, like, don't get me wrong, all gripes aside with Aaron Schatz, who's not always the most favorite of Bills Mafia.
Yes.
That, like, he is very smart. He knows history and statistics.
Yes.
That's something for him to say.
Big statement.
That's something for him to say that.
Oof.
Yeah. Oh, so, the rest of the core, really took advantage of that gravity. And we talk about the gravity with Stephon Diggs, that if you're going to double team, and that means everybody else is single teamed. And tonight, Josh Allen ripped that apart. He balanced it so well with the comfort level, taking the checkdowns, and you see catches by Reggie Gilliam, you see 3 catches by Singletary, you see the 3 little swings for Isaiah McKenzie, but then he was comfortable taking the shot plays, and you see the 38-yarder to Knox, you see the 45-yarder to Diggs, you see the 34-yarder to Sanders, which was a rope, you see the 22-yarder to Davis. So he the balance and the way that everybody contributed, we had 10 different players catch a ball tonight, 4 different players catch a touchdown. It's just an unbelievable balance to it. So we'll start with you, Anthony. Any thoughts on how they mixed it? And I know part of it is simply an amazing night from Josh Allen, but to see that level of balance within the receiving core is also really encouraging.
It's super encouraging. And I think it speaks to the ability to throw paper when your opponent throws rock, and when they throw scissors, you throw rock, the ability to stay multiple. It was really well done, 20, exactly just like that. 1, 2, 3, shoot. And 21 completions for Josh to 9 different receivers, just the level of mismatch capability the Bills offense had. Greg, you hit it. I was talking about early on Twitter, and Eric was jumping in the conversation as well. The idea of like, okay, if the Bills want to double Diggs can still win depending on the routes and everything that they do.
Cheers to Hugo enjoying the Uncle Jumbos.
Well done, Hugo. Appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat. But also, if you're going to double Diggs, okay, now you've got certain matchups you can take advantage of. And we saw that this Patriots defense, like any team, any unit, they have flaws, they have weaknesses. Their second level cannot go with Dawson Knox. Bentley and Hightower are not made for that life. Miles Bryant cannot roll with Isaiah McKenzie. If they're going to go zone, cool. Cole Beasley will eat that zone in the middle of the field. The Bills were able to take advantage time and time again, and the distribution of Josh Allen in this game, again, the 21 completions to 9 different receivers speaks to that. Mm-hmm. And it's the design, right? And the personnel and the alignment that Dable chose to go with. But it's also a tip of the cap to Josh Allen for recognizing what mismatches he had and what he could take advantage of. His pre-snap indicators, he was so good tonight, recognizing coverage and knowing where he had to go with the ball. And if he didn't, he was able to escape and make some plays. But his post-snap recognition, like you mentioned, a lot of those quick checkdowns and dump-offs, he was quick with his decision-making. He was getting guys in. He was getting guys in stride and out of their routes and in rhythm. He was on time. He was potent. He was effective. And having a receiving core like this that are able to do so many things, Isaiah McKenzie, I know a lot of people after the Patriots game week 16, a lot of people said, Isaiah McKenzie over Cole Beasley, he always needs to be in the lineup. They're different players. They do things well. They have different strengths and weaknesses. Very much. But having them both in the same offense, along with Gabriel Davis, and Dawson Knox, and exactly, and Manny Sands and Diggs, it means you can continue to stay versatile and multiple. And that's how you win championships. Because again, not to, bring it back from the first thing I said, you cannot always throw rock. You can't always throw your fastball. You have to be able to adjust and throw different things and counter what your opponents do, and you have to be able to mitigate their strengths. And you can do that by being versatile and multiple. This Bills offense has the pivot in the run game now, and now because their stable of weapons on the outside and the periphery are now healthy, they have a multitude of options outside. And tonight in a game like this, it really showed, and especially against a team like New England, the less weapons you have, the easier it is for Belichick to be like, all right, cool, let me take that one thing away. But this time it was like, okay, cool, take that thing away. We got 5 other things that we can throw at you. Have fun. Yeah. This game was a representative.
Here's the Tommy Doyle touchdown.
Exactly. Yeah. Here's Tommy Doyle. You didn't even plan for that. Like, just this game was a microcosm of how you stay balanced and keep an opponent off balance with your play calling and your use of your personnel and taking advantage of what they can't do.
So Chris's question here, I'll lead off into our offensive line segment and ask, do we think the Patriots tried to get pressure? Was it more contained? So the Bills gave up 0 sacks. They averaged 6 yards per rush. It was a dominant performance. It was even less pressure than last time. Like last time we looked at in Christian Barmore, like there were no sacks and it looked good, but Christian Barmore had 8 pressures and there was actually a lot of disruption. Tonight, there were several plays. Josh was just sitting there bouncing on his toes, waiting. So I do
touchdown to Knox was the longest play in playoff
3 years. No. The longest play for time to throw in the NFL overall in 3 years.
Any game,
9 seconds,
9.64 seconds.
There you go. I think they tried to go with contain. You saw several times.
And it was asinine.
No, Matthew Judon was in coverage He was the one who got beat on that first Josh Allen scramble on the first down. And he had a really good jam on Cole Beasley. He knocked him out, and then Josh got around him. There were several snaps where Judon was out in coverage. They went with that contain plan, which speaks to what Judon said earlier in the week, where he was like, we have to keep Josh, make Josh beat us from the pocket, which also did not work for the Patriots.
But even when
we'll
they
get to this in the D-line section, but I agree that an amazing play by Martin. It ended up not mattering in a blowout like this, but that kind of
in the moment it did. Right.
It was phenomenal.
For momentum, huge. Huge.
When they did try to bring the pressure too, though, Josh just made the right reads. Like when there was times where they were bringing blitzes, bringing pressure, and he just made the right throws, made the right reads.
And one to Beasley, where he saw Miles Bryant coming off the corner, stood there and knew the blitz was coming, knew he was going to take a hit, waited, boom. Hit
that I tweeted it right before we went. That adjusted arm angle for him to see it, and then he was like, "Let me drop down and sidearm sling it around." Oh, yeah, good Lord.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one thing I got to say right here, because I've been pumping the brakes on this offensive line over the last month, and especially Rick Bates. I haven't jumped on the fan train yet. I'm fully on board. Choo-choo, let's go. I'm on the Rick Bates train. I like this offensive line unit. I like where we're at. I'm ready to go forward with this group to finish out this year. I think they present physicality matchups that benefit the Bills, both in the run game and the pass game. Josh continues to stay clean, whether that's Josh or not. Like, guys are not getting to him, bringing him down in the pocket, disrupting plays. Like he's getting out of there. One thing I want to pull back to those skill position players and talking about spreading the ball real quick, because I got kind of attacked on this when we were talking about Stephon Diggs getting targeted like a true number one wide receiver all in the middle of the season. And my point was, hey, I think this Bills offense thrives best when Josh Allen's spraying the ball around. And so anyone that wants to come back at me, I'm going to use this historical offensive performance to prove to you that when we're spreading the ball around and we have a full plethora of weapons and the ball is just getting spread around to different wide receivers, that is when this team operates the best. Forcing it to Diggs is cool when you need it. He's a good number one wide receiver. That's all fine. But when everybody's eating, man, this thing's going. And I'm especially happy for Emmanuel Sanders, because he has been totally quiet for 6-7 weeks now, maybe even more. And people were just kind of throwing him under the bus, saying like, we don't need him anymore. Just roll out Gabe Davis. Like, to have this much depth where you can roll out this many guys. Yeah. And you can, like, to Anthony's point, you can pick your poison, you can pick your matchups, you can pick your personnel groups and just attack how you want. You can dictate whatever you want to the defense. So super happy for all these guys that got to eat tonight. But I got an apology form to send to Rick Bates here after we get out of this show.
Oh, and I think, Chris here asking a good question. How much of this historic performance was Dable and Allen the offense? And it's always hard to know. And obviously, Brian Dable called a great game, and then Josh Allen executed to a historic level. Like, equal, I don't know that. Yeah, I don't. Right? Yeah, equal blueberries, beautiful. I don't know that Brian Dable called a historically great offensive game. He called a really good one, and then Josh Allen performed at that level, and that's how I've described it when. Bears writers that we know reach out, and Jets writers that we know reach out, and Dolphins writers that we know reach out and ask about, hey, what should we expect of Brian Dable? And my first line always is, he's better than a lot of Bills fans want to admit that he is. But the issue is he doesn't get to bring Josh Allen with. So I don't really know. I think he's good. I think he's better than a lot of Bills fans think he is, but it's impossible to decouple.
Look at all
those two things.
The OCs from Patriots history that went on to coach. Like, they didn't have Brady wherever they went, and it didn't end up producing the same type of results. Real quick, I want to talk to Anthony a little bit about this, and you'll probably say something too. We need to start praising Mitch Morse more as a fan base.
Do it.
Dude, him running step for step with Isaiah McKenzie out in space is one of the sexiest things I've ever seen on a football field. That dude, the way he moves in space is beautiful.
Yes, it's gorgeous. He needs to his wife needs to give birth to another kid like this week, so we can continue this good.
I don't think that's possible. But
I'm pretty sure that's not how that works. But we can talk. We'll talk later after the show.
We'll have the talk with you.
I'll give you the talk after the show.
You can't just clone the baby and then put in and she gives. That's not how it works.
I'll talk you through how it works.
Yeah, we'll get it. We'll have the talk.
So we'll have the talk.
We'll have the talk after the show. It's fine. So we'll start here. And obviously our friends at West Her, they're awesome. They've been fantastic supporters. And, any automobile, needs that you have, reach out to them. 21 dealerships in the New York area, the largest in New York State. But ultimately, the West Her drive of the game is what I present to you here.
Somewhere.
Yeah, it took me a second. All of them. The answer funny. Is all of them. The West Her drive of the game is the fact that the Buffalo Bills scored a touchdown on every single drive. It's impossible to choose which one is the best when there's 7 of them. So somebody in my game day thread wrote back after I posted this and said, oh, good. It'll be way less likely somebody steals Anthony's drive of the game. So I wanted to steal all of them.
All of them. None of those are my drives, so it's fine. I'm good with
this.
It.
This picture needs to be hung up in Albright Knox.
Oh, it's just amazing.
Museum. That is beautiful. That is a thing of beauty. I might get that printed and put it up in my room here.
Tattooed on my back. Mural. I'm going to get it without my back, and then a thing above it that says only God can judge me.
Think about Bills games, especially against the Patriots. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier and why this game matters. Maybe one of the biggest wins in Bills history in the way that they won. Those types of graphics that would come up throughout the last 20 years would be punt, interception, fumble, touchdown, or field goal, or something like that. Like
stuff, yeah.
To go through and rattle off absolute perfection on the biggest stage, primetime football in the playoffs against a top defense in the NFL, man. Oh my God, you can't get anything better than that for
Ryan's sister has to go to every game now. That's how
in the
works.
Shed.
Yeah, Ryan.
That's where that's going. I'm going to print it up and throw that in the shed.
Help us out, man. 1,300 people. This is awesome.
The likes,
fantastic show. Help us out with the likes. It means so much to us. It lets other people know about Cover One. It's how the YouTube algorithm works. It's how they find out about us. So help us out. We would appreciate it very, very much. So ultimately, Anthony, did you actually have a different drive for the
I did have a drive of the game, and Steven Burns in the chat called it out. He did a good job. My drive of the game is the Bills' defensive effort and interception on the Patriots' first drive of the game. No, the first drive of the game. No, first drive. So Bills just score a touchdown. Pats get the ball. They convert go first down, and then 2nd and 8, they get a first down. Then you have them at 3rd and 14. That's when Mac Jones hits that throw to Hunter Henry. He gets loose, first down. Then first down, 2nd down, 3rd and 10 at the Buffalo 50, and Mac Jones scrambles to the Buffalo 34 for 16 yards. 2 3rd and longs.
Really deflating.
That's a real Billsy play.
Yeah,
exactly.
Letting Mac Jones scramble.
Yeah. Yes, Mac Jones scramble, a blown coverage in scenarios that are big plus advantage matchups for the Buffalo Bills defense. You want Mac Jones in 3rd and 7 plus, 3rd and double digits is cake and easy. And he makes a throw where you blow coverage, and then he scrambles for 16 yards after you started out hot with a touchdown. So if the Patriots keep going down, I don't know if they get a field goal or a touchdown. Either way, it's points on the board. But if they get a touchdown, it's an answer for an answer. And right after that, 3rd and 10, 16-yard scramble for Mac Jones, play action, goes deep for Nelson Aguilar, who gets behind Levi Wallace, and Micah Hyde makes that interception. And from then on, it was over. That is my drive of the game, because if New England scores on that drive, or if they answer with a touchdown, field goal, whatever, that's momentum for them. Instead, they take a shot and they won. I think that's what's even more too.
Oh, that was a tutty.
Yes, that was 1,000% a tutty.
Oh yeah, Aguilar had him beat deep.
Yes, Mac Jones makes a good throw. That's also part of it too. Like, we'll talk about with the defense. Mac Jones made several good throws in this game.
Yeah.
This was one of them. Micah Hyde erased it and took and snatched their soul on that play. And then the Bills got the ball back and was like, cool, let's drive down and score again. That was my drive of the game, because it snuffed out any opportunity for momentum. It allowed it picked the foot up a little bit, and then on the next drive, Josh slammed that foot down on the throat, and it was over from that point.
But both Aaron and I retweeted. His name's Tim Ryan. He goes by @thesportshernia. He had the most unbelievable angle of that Micah Hyde interception that we'll share after the show and be able to be able to share with everybody. It's phenomenal to see it. He comes out of nowhere to be able to do it, and it's crazy to be able to see. I think that's a great choice for it. So, ultimately, as we kind of switch over now to the defensive side, it's incredible to now think about this defensive line and everything that they put together, it was, consistent. We ended up with 20 carries for 89 yards for the Patriots running backs. That was, obviously where they were going to go with this.
And a
game.
lot was that final drive that was kind of like, man, where the backups were in for the Bills. So
no, you're exactly right. And they had that end around for Kendrick Bourne and the 14-yarder for Damian Harris ripped off a couple of those.
Also, shout out to Kendrick Bourne for scoring to make it 33-9, and then mean mugging
and puffing his chest
out. Yeah, good job.
Talk trash to the fans. Down.
Yeah, I said it to my TV. I was like, "Put your chest away. Get out of here. It's ridiculous."
Nice flex, bro.
Then you add in 3 sacks plus another. Let's see, another 5 more quarterback hits. So 8 hits on the quarterback, 3 sacks taking him down. Not a dominant performance, but when you consider 3 sacks and 5 quarterback hits against this offensive line, that's a really strong performance for the defensive line. Aaron, what were your thoughts on the D line tonight?
Yeah, I think this unit is coming into their own at the right time. I think we talked about it in the preview show or in the extravaganza show a little bit, that rotation is starting to reap benefits now, right? Like we talked about it a lot. Like, why are they rotating? Why is Jerry Hughes getting all these snaps where these young guys should be? And you're starting to see that that's paying off now, that there isn't anyone on this Bills defensive line that's leading the league in snap percentage or leading the league in snaps. And it's mattering. And you're getting great play out of Harrison Phillips at the right time, great play out of Ed Oliver at the right time, peaking perfectly. And what I can't wait as we look ahead is you put all this effort into this defensive line. You've kind of massaged it in a certain way to get everybody to be fresh. What you really did that for wasn't to beat Mac Jones and the Patriots. It was to attack Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, so that defensive line. So this was a great performance for them in this game in the terms of stopping a team that has beat you physically on the ground. Really in both games before this, it really beat you up physically, and you answered that call in this game. And Tremaine Edmonds, we'll get to him in a second. Tremaine Edmonds, Matt Milano played clean all night long. They were clean all night, and you don't do that without great performance out of your defensive line. Give this one a read, because that's a lot of money. Appreciate this so much.
Greg, you're on mute.
You're muted. One of the night.
Dang it. And Tom hit Thomas I don't know how to say his last name. Hit us with
Thomas Mulcahy.
So
they not only did this performance, but they did it against Sun Tzu, that everyone thinks of Bill Belichick, in a very good defense. They were top 5 DVOA, and the defense showed out. That Hyde interception was amazing. Plus special teams was great. Without besides the point after attempt, we'll get to that in a minute. They buried the Pats on the very first kickoff, and Hyde was great on punt returns. Almost accidentally took one to the house. Jeremy didn't think I was doing a great job, but I apologize. I hope you have a better night, Jeremy. So being able to go through and see this kind of performance, there weren't a lot of flashes per se on defense, but it was consistently good performance, consistently strong in their ability to rally to the ball, not give up the big plays, constantly be ready for the play action. Mac Jones tried to take some play action deep shots, and every single time had to look, nope, check down, because he was probably gun shy after Micah Hyde did that to him. One name on defense that I did see flash several times, Matt Milano was all over the field. So Anthony, we'll let you start off. What do you think about the linebackers tonight, and especially Matt Milano?
Oh, Matt Milano looked great. He had the nice jump on that Hunter Henry stick route that led to the interception for Levi Wallace, and good play by Levi, aka Aaron Quinn's boy. Well, one of them.
Love that guy.
Love him. And he had a really good game. He was good in his run integrity. Even like tackles he wasn't making, he was meeting linemen head on. He was taking out angles and running lanes and allowing other people to fill in, make tackles. He was forcing things back inside. And after that first drive, that Hunter Henry, he gets loose, and there was some conversation between Milano and the coaching staff on the sideline. It seemed like they were changing some things or just getting some things set. And from then on, the defense clicked. He clicked. He was sound in coverage. He was good coming forward. He's been one of our best players on this defense all year. In the early part of the year, I thought he was clearly the best player on this entire defense, even ahead of Tre'Davious White. I think how strong he plays is also part of the reason why Tremaine Edmonds gets a bad rap, because you have this other guy next to you who is just constantly making plays and doing all these things. And so it's kind of like, you lose by comparison type of thing. But Milano had a really good game. I thought Tremaine looked fine. Nothing stand out from him, but solid enough. I would say that I thought Milano had the best game out of the linebackers. AJ Klein played well in limited snaps. He was good in the run. He was good moving. Yes, several flashes, moving laterally, coming downhill, making tackles. That was
Jerry's sack on the fake spike was
huge.
Fantastic.
That's huge. And a big piece, right? Like, to circle
they
back
thought
to
they were going to get you. The way Dak was doing his we're going to get him here.
The fact that Jerry Hughes had enough wherewithal and awareness to come out and then be like, nope. And he beat Trent Brown right around the edge and got that sack. That was huge. That is a combination of focus.
His reaction afterwards of laughing at them and
he was just like,
yeah,
it was great. That was a great play from Jerry Hughes. Nice to see him get a sack, since so many people say he's terrible because he doesn't get sacks and they only use sacks as that metric. But that's a conversation for another day. Linebackers, I thought were good. At all three of them, Klein played a significant role, and which I think we kind of all expected, given what the Bills did in Week 16 with how the Pats want to come out in heavy personnel and then run the ball. Klein looked really good. Milano looked fantastic. Tremaine was solid, and you had to be, given how the Patriots wanted to operate, attacking the short and intermediate in the passing game, then trying to run the ball. So a solid performance from that second level, and they're going to need to continue playing at that level. Somebody, whether, going forward, we'll probably see more Milano and Edmonds based on how teams are going to play. Right. Milano or Edmonds needs to play at a top level for us to continue moving forward every week. We need to say, one of them were the top two players on this defense every week, given how these teams are going to stress this defense and what's going to happen. Milano, took that role tonight and carried it, and it was a really solid performance from him and this core as a whole.
Yeah, I think Edmonds was a touch above solid. Really, I do. I think when we watch him back too, I think we're going to see him not making the mistakes that we're used to seeing and people pointing out about his game, overshooting gaps, things like that. He was just real where he was supposed to be all night, and where it stands out to me most is in the pass game. And that's what we're going to need going forward here in the playoffs, is even when they maybe aren't making the splash plays that people want to see on the ball. Charles Davis pointed it out. Milano gave up a catch, but he was right there. They're not giving up yards after catch. They're on top of these guys. The coverage is good. It's sound. It's solid. And they're making tackles and bringing guys to the ground as soon as they catch the ball. And you saw Tremaine Edmonds do that a number of times too. It's like a wall right in the middle of the field. And then he also presents the problem of that length that, in the broadcast, you don't see how his length impacts passing lanes and things like that. I think Mac Jones wanted to work the middle of the field a little bit more, get Hunter Henry going. There's probably a number of plays there where Tremaine's athleticism scares a quarterback from going.
It's hard when there's a pterodactyl in the middle of the field.
It really is. It really is. And that's the most frustrating thing about Tremaine is people would just be like, this guy sucks. I saw 2 plays where he overshot a gap and now this guy sucks, but you don't see the 5-6 passes that he prevented a quarterback from throwing, making a guy hold on to a ball for a split second longer than he wants to, and taking away a progression from somebody. Those things matter in the NFL. That this game is slim. The margins are slim.
Yes.
And so I think when we watch back this game, you're going to see a number of times of Tremaine and Matt Milano getting in those passing lanes. And that is what this defense really needs going forward. And to the point, maybe we can, Greg joked about it a lot last year that Taron Johnson is also a linebacker, but going forward, I think when we are going to be in a lot more nickel here, especially if it's Kansas City this week, his play sort of as that hybrid and getting in there and getting in the box makes me real encouraged, because he's not the liability that he was in the passing game a year ago when we played a team like Kansas City.
I think the setup for the secondary tonight, this was maybe the most I saw Dane get tested. They went at him several times. The one, obviously, just barely out of his fingertips, that went to Kendrick Bourne. Anthony, I'll let you start. What did you think about the pass coverage with, I think obviously phenomenal play from Micah Hyde, maybe crazily, but maybe a little bit quieter game from Jordan Poyer, just not as many of the normal huge splash plays that normally makes, but they're giving us that protection the entire time. Really solid day from Levi Wallace, heads up ability to be able to jump in and snag that interception. So many nice little flashes overall. But I thought that they really maintained a game where New England obviously wanted to try to take some deep shots and wanted to try to take some play action shots, and they just shut it down.
I think that the corner grouping would be, collectively Levi, Dane Jackson, and Taron Johnson would be my, if I was giving out grades, they'd receive my lowest One, just because of how standout and fantastic every other grouping did. But they did give up some plays. But this is where I want to tip my cap. Mac Jones made some really great throws. He made that one that just got over Dane Jackson's outstretched hand to Kendrick Bourne, and then Kendrick Bourne took it upfield for some yards after catch. He made a really nice back shoulder throw to Jacoby Myers, one-on-one on Taron Johnson, and Jacoby made a good catch. So I think sometimes you got to tip your cap a little bit to the other team and say that they executed, but this was a game where you really started to see some of the things shine for Dane Jackson, in particular. His ability to come up and run support right off the bat, his ability to come and fill off the edge and act like a force player, or actually come up and make tackles, to take on tight ends, to take on linemen. Awesome. Can I read this comment real quick? This is fantastic. Thank you so much, Randy. Randy says, Ant, congrats and thanks for great pregame film breakdown.
It was a great show.
Oh, thank you guys. He said, help so much during the game. Keep up the great analytical work. Great part of the Cover One Elite team. Enjoy the weekend. I appreciate you so much, Randy. Thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate that. And for the nice comment as well. Greg, you're on mute. Man, so many times. This is we just need Cover One. Is this how Cover One bingo?
That
it
needs to be.
Yeah.
Richard, there you go. There's another one for next week.
Guaranteed every time.
Take myself off mute. Randy asked a really good question earlier in a separate super chat, but it was about defense and where some of the things will align with. Do we need to be concerned with, there were some busted coverages. There were some where we probably benefited from a couple timely drops. Brandon Bolden had that deep one down the sideline. There was a couple of, Jacob Johnson, that there's a couple that, kind of benefited the team that they weren't able to pull together. And my answer to that is, Josh McDaniels is still a good offensive mind. People were mad about the Kendrick Bourne touchdown getting behind Micah Hyde. It was perfect. They put Micah Hyde in conflict. He had to figure out,
and it was a miscommunication.
Yeah, do I come up and get the guy in front or try to get back? And, it was a really good route combination.
Make a decision.
That's what a good play designer does. If we saw repeated elements of that, or we saw multiple breakdowns of that created, multiple scoring drives, sure. But this kind of performance, I still feel pretty good about what they put together.
And also the whole idea of crediting the other team. You're still playing a professional team with professional players and coaches. They're still doing things. Correct. A playoff team. They're still trying to do things to beat you and take advantage of you. And sometimes they're going to do that. I love that you called out that touchdown, and it was just a miscommunication. You saw as soon as Bourne caught it, Hyde turned around like, dang, I did the wrong thing. And that's going to happen sometimes. You have a miscommunication, or you make the right read, but maybe the other guy just beat you. That's going to happen. You're playing other top-level football players. Sometimes they're going to get you. It happened a couple times tonight. But, you just got to live with it and move forward. And it does give me a little cause for concern going forward against more, top level.
I'm concerned in elite. I'm concerned about Tyreek Hill. I'm concerned about, elite AJ Brown. I'm concerned about elite and talents on the outside. And
if we play Cincinnati, Chase and Higgins and
Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, those kind of players, I am concerned about Dane Jackson's ability to hang there. But again, having Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer help. So is he going to lock them down all day? No, that's unreasonable. But can he still be a part of a winning recipe for a game? Absolutely.
Right. I'm concerned too, in the sense that, again, I think we've done this a number of times with different position groups throughout the season here, that our pursuit of perfection and comparing ourselves league wide needs to get reeled in here a little bit, because this defense is number one pass.
The Patriots should be concerned about their performance tonight.
Correct.
The Bills should not be concerned about their performance.
No, and the Bills defense is going to give up points throughout this playoffs. The teams are going to get better as they advance. They're going to give up points. They're not going to hold the last 4 or 5 weeks. They've held every opponent under 20 points. That's rare in the NFL. The NFL is designed to score points. It's just a very rare thing to do. You're not going to do it. So people might get frustrated that they give up some big plays in passing game, but you're going to, when we play Kansas City, if it is Kansas City, Tyreek Hill is going to break a play. Travis Kelce is going to get out and get a play. They're going to put points up. You probably won't hold them to under 20 points. This offense has proven that you can get in a shootout with a team, but this defense has also proven that they can take the ball away. They can get some stops. They're going to force you to go move the ball down the field. Lots of plays at a time. More Bills those. Yes, I did see the
That was
adult
fantastic.
Yeah,
toy.
there was an adult toy thrown at Kendrick Bourne during the first touchdown.
But this team being a top pass defense in DVOA is not a mistake. Trey White has been out a while now. They've been tested against good teams. So none of this is a mistake that they are one of the top defenses in the NFL. They're going to give up plays. It happens to every single defense in the league. There's going to be some of these matchups that exploit that in different ways, but I wouldn't go as far to say that it's a concern. Like, it's not something that's bleeding out at all to any point yet this year.
Yeah, and I think it's all about, can they match up in the right moment? Can they have enough where counter to the offense scoring, can they then hold the team in play? And the Bills offense always gives them that opportunity to score enough that they then tilt the game script, where all of a sudden then you can allow Dane Jackson to maybe give a little bit more cushion, and those 8 and 10 yard completions are okay. Or the defensive line gets there first, or a blitz gets home, or Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer can help. So that's why the early game script and the early execution by the offense is so critical, because it tilts so much more of what the game is and how they're going to be able to control that. So that's a big piece. But a couple of people in the chat here, including my mom, we're talking about a sneaky one. Josh Allen juking that guy in the open field where he face planted straight down his face.
That was bad. Yeah,
that was a sneaky nice play. Got lost amongst a historic performance, but a sneaky good one. We're now time to pivot over to our Uncle Jumbo's player spotlight. We've talked a lot about Josh Allen, and we usually at this point try to pivot over and bring attention to someone else. I'm not going to try tonight. Tonight was special. Tonight was historic. Tonight was the kind of performance that maybe some people think I'm being hyperbolic when I say the Buffalo Bills are going to be competitive and be in playoff contention and championship contention for 15 years because they have Josh Allen. Period. Full stop. End of sentence. For no other reason. Josh Allen is on our team. That means we compete for a championship every single year. That's it.
You might not be in the playoffs every year, but you're going to be a team that can make that run every single year. Like Aaron Rodgers had some years where they weren't great.
There's down years.
Yeah. But more times than not. I was saying it to a friend the other day. He's like, at some point the salary cap's going to bite you guys in the ass. I was like, no, it's not. As long as Josh Allen's there, you can figure it out. Like there might be a down year or two, but you'll be back in it in no time, because once you got the franchise QB figured out, it's all gravy, baby. That's all we've been looking for.
And the cap's going to be at like $2 billion in 2 years anyway.
Brandon
so it'll be fine.
Really
Greg knows. He's a cap.
There's always money in the banana stand.
Yeah.
Nice pull.
I do agree. Stand. I agree that it's hands down Josh Allen's night. But I want to give a little shine to a guy that I picked to be the spotlight player of the game, Dawson Knox. The rough off season that he had from this fan base,
me included,
my friend Greg included, wanting to have other answers, and I think that they probably should have gotten something at tight end 2 going a little bit, but Dawson Knox is really tight end 1, and it's not close. He's one of the better tight ends in the NFL at this point. That catch he made on the first touchdown, I'm pretty sure that was a throwaway by Josh. I think Josh was trying to put that out of the back of the end zone.
Kyle
Dawson was like, "No, not tonight, bud. We're pulling that in and we're rolling."
I hope someone asked him that in the post-game press. Like, did you mean to throw that away?
Yeah. I think it was a throwaway. And the catch he made, he almost had another touchdown on that play action bootleg to Knox late in the fourth quarter. There, he just had himself a game and put himself. So what? Again, going to this Kansas City game, they addressed this defensive line to attack Kansas City. Brandon Beane put Dawson Knox on blast after that Kansas City loss and saying the teams did not game plan specifically for our tight end. You're going to throw on this film of the Buffalo Bills and their perfect offensive performance. And outside of Josh Allen, the next best offensive weapon was your tight end position. You better be game planning for him to stretch the field on you and open up things for everybody else. He has answered the call that Brandon Beane set for him last season.
Just got a text from Mr. Eric Turner, who said Josh Allen admitted that it was a throwaway. So Dawson Knox just made a play on, and maybe
not today.
Created a touchdown out of a throwaway.
Right. And maybe we should also should we criticize Josh for not making a good enough throwaway?
Yeah,
That
right.
was still
Hashtag
kind of
accidental
awesome.
touchdowns.
Yeah,
Like,
learn how to
awesome
throw it
play.
away, Josh. Jeez.
Come on.
I love
he
this.
said, Eric also said, Josh didn't know what happened until he got back to the sideline. Wild. When
That's
things are
awesome.
going right for you, they're going right for you.
Hey.
Motor's emergence is the real life. Happy
that's
learned
right.
how to putt.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
funny.
much. Pretty much.
That kind of balance is fantastic. Anthony, any other direction you want to go for our Uncle Jumbo's player spotlight of the game? Well, I have another sip of Uncle Jumbo's.
Have another sip. I've been sipping a lot. I've been going with. I know you guys went with the bomb skull. I went with the raspberry iced tea tonight. I really like this one a
It's
lot.
nice.
This is a
It's
really good
nice.
one for me. It's fantastic. I'm gonna cheat and go with a spotlight grouping of the game. It's the offensive line for me. I want to wait for the all 22 to confirm as always, but I hit rewind on my TV a whole hell of a lot because I wanted to keep seeing what the Bills offensive line was doing because it just seemed like there were so many runs where they kept winning. Ryan Bates had a couple plays where he was grabbing at his right or his left shoulder, and I thought like, oh no, did he hurt his shoulder? Did he break his collarbone? Yeah, and he stayed in. He didn't miss a snap. Everything was fine.
I'm going to post this one for Aaron.
That's funny. WEEI is literally flipping out, and yes, Josh said he was trying to throw away. Awesome. Well
I
done,
could
Steve.
bathe in that.
Happy
comment.
birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
That's funny. The ability again of this line, like all credit to Devin Singletary. We talked about him earlier, but this line has just found a rhythm. They found something to hang their hat on. And I think what the key was, and the reason I want to spotlight this position grouping is in tonight's game, there wasn't one person on the line that completely overshadowed everyone else. We saw a lot of quality blocks from Ryan Bates, from Mitch Morse, from Darrell Williams, from Spencer Brown, from Deion Dawkins, Tommy Doyle when he got those snaps. I'll even throw Dawson Knox, a.k.a. Dawson Knox, for his performance tonight.
Ooh.
I'll even like it. Thank you. Someone came up with that. I can't take credit for it. That's not me. Someone came up with that. I came up with when Tremaine Edmonds does great, he's tremendous. But I did not do the Dawson Knox one. Someone else came up with that. I can't take credit. Dawson Knox looked good in his run blocking as well. It's a part of his game that people continue to not talk about because he's making so many plays in the pass catching game.
One.
But
Noxic differential.
That's a great one.
I like
well
that.
done.
Sneaky.
That's a real good one. Chris is on fire with that comment there. Yeah,
I love how we're now getting angry trolls in the chat now because people are so concerned about how good a time we're having. It's
That's
great.
fine. Bring on your anger. Give us your view.
Nothing
It's
can ruin my
fantastic.
night at this point.
I don't care.
Mean comments.
I hope more Patriots fans come in. I hope one of those Patriots fans knows that guy from Target today, so I can get his address.
Do you know that guy from Target?
I have his picture. I know, I'm just kidding. This O-line was clutch. I think from a pass protection standpoint, I think a lot of it was contained rush base, but when things did come, they were sound. Josh did escape and do some things like he normally does. Again, Josh Allen was the most pressure quarterback in the league this year, but he was towards the bottom of the league in terms of pressures turned into sacks because of his pocket manipulation and ability to evade in the pocket. But this O-line looked good, and this is a big thing for this team going forward. We said it going all these, middle of the season on the post-game show here. If we had a top 5 offensive line, it'd be awesome, but we don't necessarily need a top 5 offensive line. Just be average to above average, but stay there. Do not have games where you look awful and are being victimized and you are a glaring weakness and vulnerability. And not only have we not seen that, but we're seeing above average play from this offensive line. And these gap runs, these counters, they're running old school football up front. People need to know that. They're running counter and power and pin and pull.
Yeah, that's not the NFL anymore.
No, that is not the NFL anymore. Last year, there were over 9,000 zone runs in the NFL. There were just over 3,000 gap runs in the NFL. There was only two teams out of all 32 NFL teams last year that ran more gap than zone. One of them was the Baltimore Ravens, who are an anomaly on offense, and they shouldn't even count. The Buffalo Bills, over the last 5 games, weeks 14 through 18, so I guess they have 5. 48% gap runs, 50. That's 5th most in the NFL, those 48% gap runs. They found something to lean their hat on. They're physical. They're athletic. They've got some meanness and nastiness to their game. Spencer Brown is comfortable in this system. The offensive line, as much as Josh Allen is the offense, and we will go as far as Josh Allen takes us, that offensive line will allow Josh Allen to take us further because of their blocking in the run game and pass protection. But again, it all comes back to that run piece, having that pivot. It makes things easier for Josh. It takes some weight off his shoulders. This offensive line, again, I want to see the tape, but I think they had a very, very quality game from a run standpoint, and that's why I want to spotlight them.
It's fantastic.
I like it.
A quick question here. Kyle Pop, who I'm going to assume this is Bryce Pop's son, asked, did the Bills have any negative plays, not counting Mitch's kneel downs? My super scientific process of scrolling through the play-by-play as quickly as I possibly could. There were 4 incompletions, and there was 1 no gain by Zach Moss, the second to last offensive play of the game before the Fat Boy touchdown to Tommy Doyle.
Yeah.
So in the first rest of the game, there were 4 incompletions and 1 no gain. They did not lose yardage on any play, and previous to that Zach Moss no gain, they gained yards on every single play of the entire game on offense. It was, again, literally a perfect game offensively.
I hope he's Bryce Pop's son. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm just, nobody can tell me otherwise.
That's that's the narrative we're running with.
That's what I'm going to tell myself.
Yo, guys, you saw that Bryce Pop's son commented on our show tonight?
So, switching over to our last 2 here, we'll start with special teams because I want to end with coaching because I was really pleased with the coaching performance tonight. Special teams, I think, was a net positive. I won't lie. It was kind of weird that Tyler Bass has been flawless.
Yeah, on the one night, everything else is great.
And like the one night that everything else is perfect, he has 1 blocked, which isn't on him. That's on the offensive line. But then misses 1 and then doinks 1. I'm going to assume that if any part of the game was the most affected by the frigid temperatures, it's going to be the 2 guys who stood on the sideline the entire game, not going in, and then have to go in and precisely catch and put the ball down and then kick it perfectly. Yeah, I think it's reasonable to assume that they were affected by the frigid cold more than other parts of the game. Who, honestly, if you've ever played in really, really cold, like when you get going, you're actually okay. Like you're so cold, but you're okay. If you're just standing there on the sideline, it sucks. It's horrible. Yeah. So it's not okay, but I thought they were good. So I'll put that aside. Micah Hyde almost scored an accidental touchdown, and if he's
such a smooth athlete.
If he didn't trip over Tyrell Dotson, he would have scored. It would have been a 92-yard punt return touchdown. Isaiah McKenzie looked explosive, looked comfortable there, and again, 3 games out of 4. Matt Hawk hasn't punted. 3 games.
They're the best games.
3 in the last 4. He hasn't punted once. Any other thoughts on? Yeah, there we go. Thomas, awesome tonight, just killing it. Anthony, Aaron, any other thoughts on special teams?
I got one. I agree with you. I watched that 1994 weather game, January 15th, same type of weather, and the biggest issue with that game was Steve Christie had missed extra points and he was one of the best kickers in Bills history, and he was missing
super
all over
weird coincidence.
He leads the Bills in points all time, I think.
For sure. And he was off that day. Kicking was just off. And so going into this game, I said it to my wife because she loves Tyler Bass, and she's like, "What? This is weird." And I was like, if there's going to be one thing that is impacted, it might be the kicking game in this game. But then Falk had a flawless night for himself, so their kicker wasn't. So maybe there's something going on. I think he's strong enough mentally. We saw him go through struggles early in his career, bounce right back out of it. So I'm not worried about Tyler Bass. One thing I think we all also have to start talking about, because I've seen some people put out free agent lists of who you want to bring back and who you don't want to. Saran Neal needs to be on this team long term. His return
steps up the priority list.
His coverage ability, the way he flies down the field, stays in his lane, creates havoc on special teams. We didn't see it in the punt game because they didn't punt at all, but on kickoffs, the way he gets that, he's a true special teams ace in the NFL. And I don't think that gets talked about enough. And good teams that are perennially playoff teams like the Patriots with Slater, you have those guys that you just hang your hat on as special teams guys. And I think Saran Neal can be that guy going forward. Let Tywan Jones walk and make Saran Neal that sort of special teams captain type guy going forward.
Great swap.
Oh, that's fair. I want to pull up that. I pulled up that comment from Thomas, so I wanted to shout it out to Thomas, who's been killing it all night with Super Chat. Says that he was at that 1994 game. It was cold AF, and he was
that one was colder because wind chill had it at like below 26 or something like that. It was insane,
it was wild. Thanks for sharing that detail with us, Thomas. And again, thank you for another Super Chat. I'm in a similar boat with you guys. I yelled hardcore at my TV on the first kick return of the game when Mckenzie fumbled it and went out of bounds, and I yelled. And my wife had looked down and she didn't see him fumble, so she like jumped and didn't know what happened. I yelled violently. I'm still a little concerned in that regard in terms of his security and decision making, especially when you see, again, Micah Hyde like accidentally almost house one. So the juxtaposition there is a little much. Bass, I think it's one bad game, and to Greg, to your point, I think you could make a case for it. Like, you got a guy literally just sitting over there chilling, no pun intended, like literally chilling and freezing and getting tight, and and also one of them was blocked. So shout out to I think it was Wise, who was the one who got his hand up and blocked the one. So I'm gonna hope it doesn't continue. And again, knock on wood, he doesn't have a track record of things like that. Yeah. But everything else is phenomenal. The kick return coverage was great. That first drive,
opening one with hitting Gunner at the 12.
Yes, done, over. They were physical. They were nasty. My boy Jaquan Johnson was getting in on some. I think people don't realize the special teams piece of that's funny. Richard says, funny enough, Mckenzie special teams blunder was on the bingo board. There you go, Richard. Well done. You're predicting everything.
Consistency.
I don't think people realize the impact that special teams players can have and why good ones are hard to come by. And proper kick return coverage is an important thing, and proper punt coverage and blocking and all that stuff. And the Bills have a quality unit and they're executing. And tonight was a good night. Another phase that the Bills won. And that's something, again, you have to execute in all three phases. You cannot afford to have a let up, whether physically or mentally, in any phase. The Bills were sound in special teams overall. I'm still a little nervous and worried about the Isaiah McKenzie decision-making, in addition to some of those. I just read, Greg, what you said in the private.
If you don't let the other team score all that much, you might only get 2 kick returns a game, maybe. Most.
Very true.
Yeah.
Well played, Greg. Well played, Greg, in the private chat.
So ultimately, we'll close out here before our final thoughts with the coaching. Tonight was the single most, I think, let me try to phrase this properly. I think a lot of fans think of aggression purely as, did you go for it on fourth down? Tonight was the most aggressive we've seen Sean McDermott and this team in the position that so many other coaches, and specifically so many other Bills coaches that we've seen, when they got up 27-3, would have just packed it in, would have just said, hey, good job, guys. We're going to ride this one out, and just, run, pass, punt, run, pass, punt, run, pass, punt. And we saw this team go play action. We saw this team pull out aggressive, that fake end around to Emmanuel Sanders. We saw this team put Josh Allen into a position to take deep shots. And that combination of continuing to blitz late, continuing to let the offense thrive and do what it does well all the way through, is just an incredibly promising sign to me. And it's something that I want to be able to see here. Patrick Chase coming through,
well done, Patrick,
saying that Josh Allen's total QBR tonight was the best postseason QBR in the metrics history over the past 15 years. The previous record was Tom Brady's 98.0 versus the Jags in 2007.
Oh, I remember that game.
Even more historic performance. So
awesome.
Tonight's coaching was really encouraging to me. We've had multiple people in the chat comment that, oh man, we just lost Dable and Frazier. I hope we did.
Yeah,
they deserve
good
it.
for them.
Tonight was awesome.
Give me Dorsey and Fangio.
Yeah. Just roll right through. I think they're going to be, well deserved to be in that spot. And this is what happens when your team's this good. You lose people, and they deserve to get those jobs.
Yeah, and when you have, like you mentioned, Greg, when you have the guy at quarterback, it's going to matter to lose staff and stuff, but the Patriots lost staff year in and year out. And as long as they had the core and the foundation in place, as long as this Bills team has Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, and Josh Allen, that 3-headed monster, I'm not worried about losing a few guys here and there. Like that is going to be okay. They will weather these storms. I also think they're an organization that's prepared for this. They dodged a bullet a year ago to not lose either one of those guys. So they've now had a year to prepare in-house for either looking for outside candidates that would be available or training their own to have that availability. And everybody also is quick to say, hey, Leslie Frazier is going to get this job and bring Ken Dorsey with him. Bill Belichick never allowed his guys to do that. You could go have that job. You don't get to poach from my staff. You go build your own staff. So there's a real chance where Sean McDermott says, no, you can't take Ken Dorsey with you because we're going to give him the OC job here, and you go build your own staff. Congratulations on your job. We're happy for you.
I've talked through that with a couple fans, and the only scenario that I can see is a super weird timeline, whereas Leslie Frazier gets the first job,
right?
Then there's like a Josh McDaniels, Frank Reich situation where somehow Brian Daboll doesn't get his job until March. And then all of a sudden there's a weird window where we lost Ken Dorsey because we thought we were keeping Brian Daboll, because I don't think they would stop him from taking a promotion. Like if he has a chance to move from quarterback coach to OC and we don't lose Brian Daboll, that's the only scenario. But otherwise, we're going to have one or the other next year. We're going to have.
There's also this assumption too that Dorsey
so much,
would
Thomas.
be
Thank
Thomas,
you, Thomas,
man,
just
unloading
so
on
generous.
us tonight, man. Appreciate you.
Quit my job first.
He says Daboll and Frazier put the league on notice about who are the leading candidates for head coaches should be. This is all super chats. A big thank you for amazing work all year. We appreciate you,
so
man.
much.
We can't do
Thank
this
you
without.
We see him in the chat every single
All the
week.
time.
He's there for us all the time. Every show. It's
And I know we
fantastic.
called out, like, we pull it up because it's super chat and the dollar amount is fantastic, but the words mean more than that, and the appreciation for what we do. So thank you so much, man.
Absolutely. And we got a lot of off-season talk about these coaches and stuff like that. But I think there's also an assumption that Dorsey will be his preferred choice of OC when the guy's been in the NFL for 40 years. Like who knows who's on his Rolodex?
Lots of
Rolodex
relationships
of guys that he wants to be his OC. It doesn't necessarily need to be Dorsey, but this was a great coaching performance, and you nailed it, Greg. And I said it earlier in the episode, Sean McDermott, Belichick. And this is exactly what Bill Belichick has done to teams year in and year out. Buffalo has its share of these Belichick games where instead of punting and just rolling out the game, he continues to beat on you and just the Cobra Kai, no mercy. Like, we are going to pound you into the ground.
Sweep the leg.
Honestly, that is what this is. And that is a level of aggression that is different from a Sean McDermott style of aggression. I think this is personal for Sean McDermott. I think that he knows that within the AFC East, you're compared to the standard that is the Patriots. You're compared to Bill Belichick and his team, and to have the opportunity to be aggressive and pound him into the dirt. I think you heard him after that first game say, hey, don't give Bill Belichick all this credit. Like, he doesn't deserve this credit. Our team had field position. Our team had this. We beat ourselves. And I think that came from a personal desire to say, like, hey, I'm on par with who this guy is. Like, you guys need to start giving me credit for what we do in this team. And I think he's put the league on notice tonight that there is a new sheriff in town in the AFC East.
Yeah, absolutely. Anthony, any final thoughts on the coaching before we close this show out?
You guys hit all of it. I don't want to, rehash anything too much. One thing I want to point out, and I'm fairly confident that this came from coaching. Once the Patriots scored their touchdown to make it 33-10, every snap that came after in that third quarter and in the fourth quarter was snapped at 10 seconds or below. That's funny. Keith says these words don't mean as much as the cash, but that's okay. I ain't mad. Appreciate you, Keith. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Keith's consistently one of the funniest members of our Cover One premium member Slack channel. He's fantastic.
He's great on Twitter too. Appreciate you, Keith. So the Bills recognizing where they were in the game and how the script had gone and making sure that no snap came above 10 seconds, I think is tremendous. If the Falcons had done that, they'd have a Super Bowl.
True.
And that's a huge piece of the game. Like, recognizing where you are and having the wherewithal, again, that wherewithal, the awareness, the understanding of what's going on to be like, all right, cool, here's where we are. Let's do this. But to your point,
it also helps to stay aggressive during that.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So to Greg's point, it's not like they did that. And then also we're like, okay, we're snapping it under 10 seconds every time and we're running it every single play.
Yeah. And we're throwing curveball.
Exactly.
Right.
They maintain their same script and their same game plan. They just did it with less time on the clock. So they didn't change their philosophy and their plan. They just altered when they were snapping the ball, which is beautiful. That shows that you're like, no, we got them on the ropes. Let's just continue to wind this thing down and do both at the same time. Both is good. That famous El Dorado gift that people like to use on Twitter. Both? Yeah, both is good. That's exactly what they did. That's smart. That's heady. That's understanding your team and the opposition and knowing what's going to work. And that was my biggest piece for the coaching thing. Once the Pats scored, the first thing I did was start looking at the clock. I tracked every single play, and I just thought that was great, especially, again, from a guy that a lot of fans wanted fired like 5 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago.
Steven Upson sharing with us here that he just checked in at Belichick's press conference, and he's very salty.
I don't think he shook
I'm going to
McDermott's
bathe
hand.
in that after this.
Shame.
I'm going to soak that. I'm going to go
He
listen
didn't
to
look
it.
pleased when he met
He
McDermott at
he didn't shake McDermott's hand. That'd be great.
Right? I don't think he did. Yeah, he just kind
No,
of.
they
Somebody
shook
earlier
hands.
asked.
They shook
did-
hands.
Oh, they did.
did they?
Okay.
Okay.
It was a fast one then.
It was
I
quick,
apologize.
though. But, I mean, whatever. I would
Appreciate
also get out of there quick, too.
It's also
I'm
cold.
I'm
Maybe
a
he
sore
just wanted to
loser.
get in.
Whenever
Yeah,
people
and it's
talk about that
disgustingly
stuff,
cold outside.
yeah, whenever people talk about like, oh, Brady didn't shake whatever's hand, I would be the worst at all those. I would. I'm
Yeah,
not a good.
I'm
loser.
not a super gracious loser.
No,
I'm
no,
not.
not at all.
You're not a gracious
Uh,
winner either.
True. That is
That's
also
true. That's
true.
also very true.
As on display tonight.
Yeah, both those things.
But yeah, no, I will definitely be bathing after this post game show in all
Oh,
the Patriots.
I'm not
tears
going
and
to sleep
saltiness.
forever.
No.
I'm watching
Never
something.
sleeping again.
I'm never sleeping ever again.
I might rewatch the game. I don't know.
Who knows? I'll appreciate your silence. He's fantastic.
Yeah. Yes. And yes, Dabo was fantastic. They pitched a fantastic game today.
Yeah.
So, Aaron, let's go around the horn here
Yeah,
and
let's
give us
wrap
your
it
closing
up.
thoughts.
Yeah, so it's no longer my birthday. So it's a historical event now in my life that my birthday was the best, absolute best birthday. This is all I could ever ask for. What a
made
fantastic.
history.
I made history today. And honestly, you guys could probably thank me. I think the Bills did this for me. Our friend Chris had put on Twitter that after one of the first Josh Allen runs that he had seen him lip read, or he was reading his lips and saying that's for Aaron's birthday. So I don't know if that's true. I'm going to have to rewatch the game.
Can
see
you
if
make
that's
your
true.
birthday also be for the next game?
The next few weeks?
Yes. Is that
Yeah.
a thing? Is that how that works?
Do I have to get older
Wait.
each time?
Hold
No,
on.
you get younger.
Yeah, okay.
This guy came in our chat and said, I can't wait for another 20-year dynasty with Mac Jones in the next couple years. That's the cutest thing I've ever
That's
seen.
so funny.
Yeah.
That's adorable.
So sad.
Yeah.
That is
so sad that
adorable.
you came here to do that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That dude's serious. That's real life.
Wow.
That's real life.
Are
You
the
know
guy who
what
I
though?
saw at Target?
To be fair, I wasn't that guy, but there were some of us that would have been in a Patriots version of this show 15 years ago saying, well, when Trent Edwards in 3 years is going to be, we're
Yeah.
coming for you guys in 3
I
years.
can't wait for the next 20 years of that guy's life. It's going to be awesome.
EJ Manuel, I swear to God, when 3 years from now, when he develops,
The
it's
next
the
guy
same.
they draft after Mac Jones is going to be better than him.
Probably. Yeah. I still think Zach Wilson's going to be the second best QB, and he played terrible against the Bills too, but I still think he'll be the second best QB in the AFC East next year.
Don't worry, that guy will root for Tom Brady the rest of the
Yeah.
playoffs. It's fine.
But no, this was a fantastic night. Rewatch this game, retweet all these beautiful stat lines that you're going to see from every stat site, all this historical numbers. Live this up because this is a quick turnaround. We're going to get another quick turnaround here this week. We've got some games to watch tomorrow. I'm really interested to see how that plays out. Make sure that however that plays out, make sure that you do check out bookseats.com and get there for these games. It's not going to be -1, 2, 3 degrees. There's going to be seats available for these games. Get to them. This really can be a special run. Going into this playoffs, I was really happy this team was playing right at the right time. But last year felt like maybe that team had more going into the playoffs, and like that was your year to really make a special run. After a game like this, guys, I've put this team over last year's team. They are so dominant. We saw that tweet in the playoff extravaganza from Jeff Kerr. I think I might be butchering this. Jeff Kerr
you
from
retweeted
CBS
it. Yep. Yeah.
about the number of dominant victories.
Well, yeah,
they just
12
added
victories.
they just added another dominant victory in the playoffs here.
Every
This is
victory
the
came
most-
by 12 or more, and every team
Yes.
that's done that has won the Super Bowl, I
has
believe. is what you
been
said.
to a Super Bowl or won a Super Bowl.
There you go.
This is the most dominant team in the NFL, and I don't think it's close. I think it's the most well-rounded team in the NFL, and they can do this to anybody on any given Sunday. So this could be real special, guys. Hang on and stay with us. The chat tonight was fantastic. All the support in here was absolutely incredible. It's hard to explain how that feels as a content creator to know people, as that game was wrapping up, people were tweeting and tagging all of us in and saying, I can't wait to get on this show and celebrate with you guys. Like, it really means the world to us. It takes a
was
lot
the
of work
coolest
to
feeling.
put this on, and to know that we are part of your game day and part of this Bills thing that is special to all of us Bills fans. is really the coolest thing in the world. So thank you to everybody.
Anthony, what do you have for the people?
I got a couple things. I'm going to pick up where Aaron left off. I podcasted for a decent amount of time before joining Cover One, and I say it a lot to have this platform and to be a part of the team. It means so much to me, and nights like tonight are super special. As you guys know, like I don't tweet or text or do calls during games out of superstition. So for me to like open up Twitter as the game is, and I don't check it during it, so to open it up after and just see, tons of things of being tagged and like questions or people like, oh, like this play happened, and I thought of like Pro Ant and like this. I can't wait for the post game show with this, and then to see all the people here live with us and the donations and the kind words for all of us. Like it's genuinely like I think I'm pretty good with words. I don't really know how to describe it. Like it feels tremendous, and I'm extremely grateful and thankful for Cover One and the team and for everybody who supports us watching every week, whether you donate, whether you don't, whether you watch, whether you listen, whether it's live, whether it's, whatever. You guys mean the world to us. So thank you very much for that. And this win feels great. And I want to circle back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers post game Cover One show, and how many people, whether it was on Twitter or whether it was during that post game, who wanted to keep throwing at us like there are no moral victories. You guys are just trying to soften the blow by saying how the Bills performed in that second half. You cannot tell me that second half performance against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where the Bills picked their bloody selves up off the canvas and punched their way back into that game and should have won that game if not for some really sketchy, horrible calls by the referees. They've been a different team from that second half on. I think that we talked about it last year when they lost to the Cardinals. The conversation after that was it galvanized the team. It was the proverbial thing that brought them together. They were like, all right, no more messing around. Here we go. It was the moment in the movie where, the hero realizes like, okay, everything changes from this moment, and they go and they be the savior and the hero of the movie and all that crap. That Buccaneers game was that moment from this team. This team has been different since then. And it's not just from a feel-good standpoint. It's from an execution standpoint. It's from a focus standpoint. It's from a play style standpoint. And we talked about it. Greg has said it. Aaron, you've said it. I've said it. This playoff could go any way. Greg's famous line, everything is on the table. The Bills could have gotten blown out this game, or they could have destroyed New England. They destroyed New England. There's still a bit of a roller coastery vibe with this Bills team, but I'm starting to think that it's on the higher end of it, knock on wood. When this team plays a complete game, they are the most complete team in the NFL. I think they're the most complete team left in the playoffs. It's just a matter of how they execute. This is a really quality ball club, And despite the injury to Tre'Davious White, and despite not having the best offensive line, they've got all these other pieces that can step up and rise up and make up for those potential deficiencies or weaknesses. It's a fun time to be a Bills fan. I'm tremendously excited. I'm definitely not going to sleep for at least a week and a half. And this was awesome tonight, and I appreciate everyone.
Yeah, I echo so much of what you guys said. I want to say thank you to everybody in the chat. You guys were amazing tonight. This
Crazy
is
awesome.
Unbelievable. We appreciate you so much. Just your contributions, your interaction with us, your show. That when Aaron said that earlier, how many messages we got of people telling us how excited they were about the post-game show. That's such a cool feeling to know that people enjoy this to that degree, and that, we put so much time and effort to be prepared for it, that they're here for us. And my message to you is to enjoy every second of this. There's been so much frustration and disappointment and suffering, and Lucy pulling the football away from Charlie Brown in being a Buffalo Bills fan, that when these good moments happen, don't look ahead. Don't look down the road. Be present in the moment and enjoy every single second of this. Be able to let all of it just wash over you and enjoy watching it again. Watch this game again this week. Take every opportunity that you have to enjoy every piece of this. We're going to talk about it tomorrow, whether we are rooting for the Steelers or the Chiefs, who we're going to play down the line, what the potential matchups are. We got plenty of time for that. Right now, enjoy this game. Enjoy this moment. Enjoy the fact that your favorite team and your favorite player just put up a historic performance against the greatest coach in history and the bully on the block that had been taking it to us for 20 years. And you just watch them absolutely get mollywopped in front of everyone, in front of their mamas and everything. Watching this happen, don't let that moment pass. Don't let that go and move on to the next thing. And okay, who's next? Don't. Stay here, enjoy it. We'll have plenty of time to get to this next game, and we'll be ready for that too. And this could be a historic run. This could be a special time that we'll remember forever. But enjoy this, soak it in, take every bit of it that you can. And I'm excited to be able to be a part of it. Make sure you watch. We're going to have coverage for you all week long. We're going to be there with the roundup. We're going to be there with the air raid hour. We're going to be there with the hoof, with the Skies coverage, with the film room, with the Cover One preview show. We are going to be there for you all week long.
We might have to do another playoff extravaganza if we keep rolling, man. It might be part of the superstitions.
I think we got to reenact as much of this as humanly possible to keep it rolling. But thank you again to everyone out there. Thank you to our sponsors at Uncle Jumbo's. We will be sending out all kinds of information about bookseats.com to get you into that next game, wherever it may be. Yeah. But on behalf of Anthony Prohaska and Aaron Quinn, I am Greg Tompsett. You've been listening to Cover One Buffalo, and we are out.
Go Bills!